Good morning, everyone. Shushan Purim. Hope you're all well and safe. I had a wonderful day yesterday. It's a wonderful day at Purim. Today, um, today's shiur is the Ilay Nishmas Rachel Bas Rav Simcha Cohen. Our Nachum Simcha Cohen, Yishal Morcha Ben Shepsel Brach Savish Moalev. Yom Moshe Ben Yosef. May the Nashos will have an Aliyah. And Ad for foolish name Ad Shabbos Leh Chana Pesach Bas Yenta. Yisrael ben Rachel Leh Rachel Bas Pesach Zelda Av Yisach Berisha Chaya Bas Duabela. Foolish name Vasach Shachal Yisrael. And Schos for Natali Tzvi ben Blima ben Rivka Blima and Shalom Yehuda ben Chaya Sarah Mindel. Sefer Bracha Vatzlach in all their endeavors. And as a schos for Gans Klal Yisrael and all the members of the Israeli armed forces to and everyone at Israel is schus for their protection of safety during this ongoing war against the Amalek, uh, the Iranian war, and may we see the Yeshua Karov with the coming of the Bias called Tzedek from here. Amen. Okay, today we are learning Perek Gimel of Megillah. Very exciting. Um, okay, so we learned the past couple of days about the halakhos of reading the Megillah. They have different situations, and now we're going to transition into the halachas regarding Kriyas HaTorah. Um, and so here we go. Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. B'nei ha'ir shemachu rechovesh shel. If the people in a town sold their town square, which has kedusha like that of a shul, because it is used for tefillah on certain fast days, as we discussed back in Tainus. Lachim b'dama basic nesses. They may use the money to buy a shul, which has more kedusha than because it's used for tefillah every day. My wife and I were once in Italy, and we spent Shabbos in Venice. Very cool. And there's a Chabad in Venice, and it's a small little shul, and the Chabad Rav, he would make kiddush and havdalah in the in like the shtetl square right outside the shul. That way he can, instead of having cramped into the small shul for kiddush and havdalah, he would bring the table out into the square where people who are walking by, some Jews, some non-Jews, can see what's going on and hear kiddush and hear havdalah, and it was, I was going to say kiddush went outside, but it was a very cool experience to see that because they used that space as their shtetl square. It's right outside the shul. Anyways, Pesach Nes is Lachin Teva. If they sold a shul, they may use the money to buy an Aron Kodesh, which has more kedusha than a shul, because the Aron actually houses the Sefer Torah. Teva Lochin Mitpachus. If they sold an Aron, they may use the money to buy the coverings for the Sefer Torah, like the mantle, which have more kedusha because they actually come in contact with the scroll. Whereas the Aron is just housing it, but it's not actually touching the scroll. With pachas loch svarim, if they sold the wrapping, the coverings of the scroll of the Sefer Torah cover, they can use that money to buy svarim of Tanakh. When they say svarim, they actually mean like the ksaf, like the cloth, not an actual like printed. Svarim halakhim Torah. If they sold the cloth of Tanakh, then they can use that money to buy a Sefer Torah. Because we have a rule, Ma'al the Kodesh and reading. You go up in Kedusha and we do not go down. So you're going from a lower Kedusha to a higher Kedusha. But the reverse is, then you have the reverse situation. But if they sold a Sefer Torah, they may not use the money to buy scrolls of Tanakh, of Nach, really, Nach. Svarim la yichu bitfachos. If they sold a sefer of Nach, a cloth of Nach, they may not use it. May not use the money to buy the covers for a Torah scroll. Mitpachas lo yichu teva. If they sold the covers of a sefer Torah, they may not use the money to buy an aram. Teva lo yichu beis. If they sold an aram, they cannot use the money to buy a shul. If they sold the shul, they may not use the money to buy a town square. And if the and and the law is the same for any leftover money that if money is left over to buy an item of kedusha, they may not be used to buy a item of lesser kedusha. Let's say you upgraded and you were buying a sefer Tanakh, like you sold the coverings and you bought a sefer like a shaya or yemia or whatever, and you had extra money from the purchase, but it wasn't enough money to buy a second scroll, but it's more than you needed for the first scroll. So you cannot use that money for anything else. You cannot downgrade that money if it was designated for the scroll. Excuse me. Ein morchrin eshsal rabin yachid. You may not sell a public synagogue to an individual who will use it only to daven there by himself. Because we will therefore lower it from its previous level of kedusha, since tefillas of kedusha, such as kaddish, can only be said in the presence of a minyan. And if it's a private shul, it's a private prayer room, then you're not getting a minyan, therefore you can't do that. The Rabbi Yehuda, this is according to Rabbi Yehuda. They said to him, if so, that it should not be allowed to even sell a shul from a larger town to a smaller town. As according to Yehuda, a public shul may not be sold to an individual because its kedusha would be reduced, and selling a shul from a large community to a smaller community should also be a circus. In that case, it will become less holy. Mr. Bays, Ein Morchim Besechneses Ela Al Tenai Shim Yirtzu Yachsiruhu. A shul may not be sold except on the condition that if the sellers wish, they can buy it back. It is disrespectful to sell a shul out of this condition, because the sellers would then would give the impression that it has no value to them other than its monetary worth. Different mayor. This is according to Rabbi Meir. They may sell it permanently without a condition that they can buy it back. Furthermore, they may sell it for any purpose except for these four uses: the merchatz, the bathhouse, the brewski, a tannery, a tvila as a mikveh, or the beis hamayim, or to a bathroom, because these are degrading. And therefore, when you're selling a shul, you have to stipulate that they may not that they will not. That you have to stipulate that the buyer will not use them for any of these four situations, these four purposes, because um, this is not nice. So, even though the shul is sold and no longer has kedusha, you're not allowed to disgrace the building that was once there. Okay, um, that's a problem. It's a big problem. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Baruch Hu Sadashim Chatzer." Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Chachamim, and he says they may sell to be used as a courtyard. And the buyer may then use it as he wishes, as long as the seller said that it will be used as a courtyard. The buyer could use it for whatever he wants, even for the four things that are answered by the Chachamim. Mishnah Gimel. The old Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said, in addition, a shul that fell into ruin retains its kedusha, and so we may not give a spedim to ordinary people in it. It is allowed to give a spedim to a Talmid Chacham in the shul. This is probably why most shuls do not have funerals in it, because we're not supposed to do a spedim in there, according to the Mishnah. We may not twist ropes or spread nets in it. We may not spread out fruit on its roof to dry. We may not use it as a shortcut, since a shul remains kadosh even after it has fallen into ruin. These activities, which are usher in a standing shul, because they are not appropriate in a house of prayer, are usher in a chorva as well. The Torah teaches that even a chorva, the ruined synagogue, is kadosh, as it says, "V'hashimosi es mitashechem." I shall make your sanctuaries desolate, which is in Parshios Kosai. The Torah kedushasan ach shehein shomemin. That by calling them sanctuaries, the pasuk implies that they retain the kedusha even when they are desolate, when they lie in ruin. That's why it's no shock that the Arabs, they play soccer up on the Har Bayis, and they degrade the space, even though they think it's holy to them, but they don't have any real appreciation for kedusha that's really up there on the Har Bayis. And why not have a picnic and play soccer while you're on the Har Bayis? Like, why not? Okay. Obviously, that's a problem. Being sarcastic here. Alubo asavim lo yislosh b'nei agmos nefesh. If grass grows in a ruined synagogue in a chorva, one should not uproot it because it arouses anguish when the people see that the place of their former shul was overgrown by grass and weeds. It will cause them much sorrow and motivate them to rebuild it or daven that it should be rebuilt and do tshuva. When you see the Har Bayis of all these trees and all the grass and all the other things, it should really make an impact on you and cause you to do tshuva. Okay, now we're transitioning. Now that we learned a little bit about Torah, now we're transitioning into the Arba Parshios that are read during the month of Adar. Some of which we already read this year, and some of which are coming up. So the four Parshios are Parshios Shkalim, and Parshios Zachor, and Parshios Para, and Parshios HaChodesh. Okay, Parshios Shkalim talks about the half shekel that is collected during Adar in time for the new fiscal year, which started on Chodesh Nisan, to buy the Kabbalah Tzibor. Parshios Zachor is remembering Amalek, which we read in Shabbos, and we read that the same day that Khamenei and 40 of his Bnei Haman were killed in Iran, which is unbelievable. Parshios Para talks about the Para Duma and becoming Torah, which is coming up this Shabbos, and Parshios HaChodesh, which is the Shabbos right before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which talks about the Korban Pesach and the mitzvah of matzah and maror and the morning and the issue of chametz, and maybe we're looking to see the Korban Pesach being brought this year, Mishnah Shem. So Mishnah Dalet, Rosh Chodesh Adar Shechal Yos b'Shabbos Korban Parsha Shkol. When Rosh Chodesh Adar falls on Shabbos, we read the Parsha of Shkolim to remind people to pay their half shekel tax till by the end of the month. Chal Yos Pesach Shabbos Makdim l'Shavar. When Rosh Chodesh Adar falls during the week, as it did this year, Rosh Chodesh Adar was Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe. I think so. We bring the Shkolim. We read Parsha Shkolim the previous Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh. It's still the last few days of Shvat. The Shabbos Acheres, then you skip the second Shabbos, which happened this year, and because you wanted to delay Parsha Zachar until the Shabbos right before Purim. The Shnia Zachar on the second Shabbos, on which the Arba Parshios are read, we read the Parsha Zachar. Since that's talking about destroying Amalek, we read it right before Purim, and that's very apropos. B'shlishis Paraduma on the third Shabbos, which is usually the Shabbos right after Purim, unless Purim is on a Friday, and then Shushan Purim is on Shabbos, then you skip a week in the following week, as we had last year, I believe. But otherwise, it's the Shabbos right after Purim. This Shabbos is Kisisa, and you read Parshat Parah this week. Revius HaChodesh is Alechem, and on the fourth Shabbos, meaning the Shabbos after that, is Parshat HaChodesh is Alechem, which talks about the halakhot Pesach. Today is Tezvav Adar, reminder that Pesach is in 30 days. Don't get scared. Get ready. The Chamish is Chosra the Chassidron on the fifth Shabbos, which is after the first week of Nisan. We return to the regular order, and we read the regular Haftorah. Because when you read the Arba Parshios, then the Haftorah is linked to the Arba Parshios. The Arba Parshios are maftir, and the Haftorah is always linked to the maftir. The Kol Mafsikin, for all the following occasions, we interrupt the regular weekly or planning schedule to accommodate the special day. Rosh Chodeshim on Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, Purim, Betanios, Ma'amados, Yom Kippur. On Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, Purim, public fast days, Ma'amad services, as discussed previously, and Yom Kippur. However, the halakha is not the same in every case. When Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, or Purim falls on Shabbos, we replace the regular Haftorah with the Haftorah of the special occasion. When Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, we replace even the weekly Kriyas Torah with the reading of Yom Kippur. And obviously, the Tainus Sibur is not observed on Shabbos, and there's no special Torah reading for the Ma'amados on Shabbos. However, these days have changes during the week. When a public fast day falls on a Monday or Thursday, or at the Ma'amados, each of those Kriyas Torahs are replaced with the special reading for that occasion. What's interesting to note is that by a Tainus Sibor, by a Chanukah Purim, everyone's on the same page and reading the same thing. The whole Jewish world. By Ma'amados, as we spoke previously in the end of Tainus, that we know that the Ma'amados, there were people designated in different areas to observe the Ma'amados, and so not everyone in that town will be observing them. So on a regular shul, they'd be doing the regular Kriyas Torah, and the shul that was designated for Ma'amadas, they would hold the Ma'amadas. So you have you have different people doing different things on those days. Mishnah Hay. The Pesach, Korin, Parsha Mawada, Shotoras Kohana. On the first day of Pesach, we read the Parsha about all the Yom Tov, which is found in Parsha's Emor. About Seres, Shiva Shavuos, on Shavuos, we read the Parsha about Shiva Shavuos, which is in Parsha's Ve'eh, which is all about Shavuos. I think it's in Re'eh. Sounds right. But this is talking about Maftir, I believe. No, because in Pesach you're reading Shor Achesa, which is in Emor, that's not for Maftir. And on Shavuos, that's for A, that's not Maftir. For Rosh Hashanah, B'Chodesh Hashvi, B'Echad Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah we read about the also from Parshas Emor about the Chodesh Hashvi B'Echad Chodesh on the seventh month in the first day of the month, which is about Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippurim Achar Emos, and on Yom Kippur we read the Parsha of Achar Emos, which talks about all Parshios Yom Kippur, even though the actual Parsha was read on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and it says Bezos Yavo Aaron. Aaron was allowed to go into the Kachi Kachim anytime he wanted, and when he went into the Kachi Kachim, he had to do the Seder as an Achar Emos, but all future Kohanim Gedolim were only allowed into the Kachi Kachim only on Yom Kippur with no exceptions whatsoever. Finish over there. On the first day of Sukkot, we read the parsha about all of the Chagim, which is also in Emor, as we do on the first day of Pesach. That's the same kriya. And the remaining days of Sukkot, you read from Parshas Pinchas about all the kabbanos of that day of Sukkot. And Mishnah Vav, the last Mishnah for today. The Chanukah, a bit of Siyam. On Chanukah, we read from the Parsha and Siyam. This is in Parshas Nasa, which the Siyam brought the inaugural karbanos to the Mishkan, but by the Chanukah and Mishkan, and because Chanukah celebrates the rededication of the Mizbeach in Bayis Sheni. The Purim, Afayav Amalek, as you know, yesterday, the Kriyas the Torah for yesterday, or today in Shushan Purim, and as Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, really, was the parsha that talks about Amalek in the end of Bishalach. The Rosh Chadashim, Rosh Chachechim, and on Rosh Chodesh, you read the parsha from Parsha Pinchas that talks about Rosh Chodesh. The Ma'amados, the Ma'aser Reishis, and the Ma'amados, we read the Parsha of Reishis, the first Perek, until we read in some Torah for Chasam Reishis is read from Ma'amados. The Tanios, Brachos, Uklalos. And on fast days, we read, according to the Mishnah, you read the Brachos and Klalos that are found in Bechukosai, the Tochacha. Torah describes the blessings that Hashem bestows upon us when we obey His commandments, and the curses when we fail to do so. It's read on Tanesim, according to the Mishnah, to inspire people to do tshuva and bring an end to the calamity for which the fast was decreed. Obviously, that's not the halakhot of Manazeh. The question is, why not? Mafsikin the klalos ala echad kares kula. We may not interrupt the curses from either of the tochachas by dividing them between two readers, between two Balei Kriya. Rather, one person reads all of them at one shot. And finally, B'Sheni, v'chamishi, Shabbos, mincha. On Monday and Thursday and on Shabbos during mincha, according to Sidron, we read according to the regular order of the Parshios from that week. The ain't all of them in the cheshbon. However, these readings do not count toward the required goal of Kriyas Torah. In the part that we read on Monday and Thursday, Shabbos Mincha does not count toward the chiyuv to read the entire Parsha, which must be read on Shabbos morning. So you can't do like Kohen on Shabbos Mincha and Levi on Monday and then Shlishi on Thursday and then read the rest on Shabbos. You have to read the whole Parsha on Shabbos, even though you read part of it earlier in the week. Shenamar, as it says, Moses spoke about the festivals of Hashem to the Bnei Yisrael. This puzzle teaches that it's a mitzvah for each of these Parshios about the Yom Tovim to read them in their proper time, and as Moshe indicated. Okay, tomorrow we wrap up Pesach's Megillah and we start morning Katan on Friday. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. And the Perek and Shushan.